Hey everyone, so I'm here with part two of my tier list of every movie that I own, or every horror movie that I own. Um, Part one, I basically just went through A through L, and today is going to be M through Z. Um, Looking back on some of the movies I put in which category, I feel like I was either a little too high or low on some of them, but um, I do like everything from my favorites to won't watch much. So basically, if it's in there, it's just how much I like it. Obviously, the further down you go, the less I like it. But the only one, obviously, why do I own this? Is the only one of movies that I just don't like. But we're starting off here with a pretty good one, and that's The Mist from the mid 2000s. I want to say like 2008 with Thomas Jane. Um, One of the, I think, better more modern horror movies. I think has a pretty good ending. Also, if you've ever seen it, you definitely know the ending. But uh, yeah, that's definitely one I recommend if you've never seen that movie and you're like getting into horror movies for the first time, or you just in general never seen it. It is pretty good. Next is a movie that was actually filmed where I live. It's called The Mothman Prophecies, and I think the story of the Mothman is pretty interesting. But this movie doesn't do like the best job of like getting into that. It's just okay. I like it, but it's not like as good as it really could have been. It's more of a like thriller than horror, but it still kind of deals with some horror stuff, and it's involves so it's Richard Gere, Laura Linney, and Deborah Messing, and Richard Gere's like a reporter, and he on his way to he's from going from Washington to somewhere, and I don't remember where, and he ends up in like West Virginia and Point Pleasant, and he was driving like the opposite direction, so he just kind of like lost a few hours, and he doesn't know how he got there, and then he like gets into this whole thing involving the Mothman and how it's basically a prophecy of death. But it's interesting, but I don't think it's like a great movie or anything. But next we have the Mummy, the one with Boris Karloff from the I think early 1930s. I enjoy it, but it's not one that just because of its age I'm going to consistently watch. Um, I did just recently go through every single one of the like older Universal movie monsters, and I kind of rank them. I would probably move some of them a little bit, like Phantom of the Opera. Having kind of like thought about that one a little bit more, I think I would have moved that one a little bit further down, but I still do like all of them in some way or another. So, uh, next we're getting to one of my favorite movies, and that's My Bloody Valentine. This is definitely in my top 10, and it's kind of tied for my favorite slasher. It's kind of this and Halloween 2. It's just like whatever mood I'm in. I would say because I like the character of Michael Myers more is probably why I would put it above My Bloody Valentine. But if you were like pick a slasher that's not a major character, then I definitely would go with that. So, um, great movie, and if you've never seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. Next is one of the more impressive movies I think that's come out in the past few years. I really liked it. Was the Nighthouse. Um, I've seen this one now like 5 times. I really like this, and I don't feel like it got enough credit for how good it was. Not enough people saw it. It's kind of a psychological, it's just slow moving like thriller horror, but it's really good, and it stars Rebecca Hall. Her husband has committed suicide, and she just kind of doesn't know why. And she was always the one that dealt with like depression and dark thoughts, and he suddenly just kills himself, and she's left with like trying to find out why. And there's like a very like dark reason as to what all this is, and finds out things about him that she would have never known. And it's pretty good. I really liked it. It was definitely my favorite movie from last year, and it's one that I've wanted to rewatch time and time again. And while it's not like I don't think it's like the scariest horror movie ever or anything, it's got a few pretty good moments um, that when I showed it to some people, it caught them off guard. So next is I think it's a decent movie, Oculus. Uh, it's hard where to put it because I would rather watch it over these two, but I'm not gonna watch it a whole lot, so I am gonna put it there. It's weird. It's like I feel like I should have added another category for this list because won't watch much doesn't mean I don't like it. It's just what it says is I just won't watch it all that much compared to these other three above it. Um, I might like it more than like Oculus. I would watch more than the Mummy and the Mothman Prophecies, and I do like it more, but I don't think it's quite as good as a worth buying. Like it is worth buying, but like how many times am I really going to watch it? So next is The Others, and I think that's a really good ghost like haunted house movie. If you've never seen it, it's I think got one of those like endings that is pretty memorable. Um, I think it's right up there with like endings like The Sixth Sense, especially for like a ghost movie. I really like it. It's got Nicole Kidman, and she plays a mother of a daughter and a son, and they have an allergy to the sun, and um, like the sun son, not her son, and she has to keep them behind curtains, behind locked doors, so no sunlight can get in. And she brings these maids in, and as soon as they come in, all of a sudden these weird things start happening in the house, and she thinks that maybe there's ghosts in the house, and it's a really good movie. If you've never seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. Next is I think it's decent. I think it's better than the original. I know some people might not agree with that. The acting, at least, is definitely better. Now, I don't think some of the choices that they made is better or are better. Like um, the ending is just okay. I actually think the alternate ending might be a little bit better, but I'm gonna put it. I won't watch much. It is probably the maybe it's not the best of those four right now, but it's about tied with Oculus for me. It just depends on which one I'm up for watching. Um, Phantom of the Opera, yeah, I'm not gonna watch it much. I do like it, but I probably won't watch it again anytime soon unless someone's like, "Hey, I really want to watch this." So, um, next is one of the best horror movies ever made. At least I think so. Most people do too. Psycho. Um, I wish this was one of those movies that like I didn't know anything about going into it, but it's such an old movie that by now, if you watch movies or just any sort of like popular media or whatever, you're gonna probably know the ending. But if you're one of those lucky people that don't, definitely watch this one. Re-Animator. The reason I'm gonna put it under won't watch much is because I've literally seen this one time. So I'm going to rewatch it soon because it's been about it was the year I met this one kid that he told me he recommended this movie. I want to say it was 2019. It was either 18 or 19, and I haven't seen it since. And I bought it to rewatch it, and I just haven't picked it. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to says I have no internet connection. It's been doing that all day. But yeah, looking forward to rewatching it. See if maybe my opinion changes a little bit. Hopefully that goes away. Um, Next is Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City. It's okay. It's not great. It's just whatever it is. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. But yeah, it's not like it's definitely not the worst Resident Evil movie, but it's just okay. Like it's nothing in it that's like great. I don't know why it's saying that. Whatever. Anyway, we'll deal with that for now, and I'll work with it. But yeah, I really do think that they missed a lot of opportunities with this one. It's not bad, but it's not as good as it could be. So next is it's every time I watch it because I've seen it so much, its pacing is a little bit like a little slow now, but I do like it still, and I think it's better than these ones for sure. And if you ask me which one of like those five I would watch, I that would probably be the last one. But it is a really good movie. I do like The Ring, and that just doesn't want to go away. um, and it's for me, it is worth buying, and I will continue to rewatch it. Um, Salem's Lot is tricky because I really did like this one, but because of its length is why I'm not going to watch it much. And I'm wearing the shirt right now, so obviously I liked it. Um, and I love that cover art. That is one of my favorite movie covers, and so that's why I put it there. Is just because it's 3 hours, not because it's a not. I actually would pick, like, if you asked which one of these seven, I think, or eight, however many are here. I would go with Salem's Lot is definitely the best one there. Next, so this is going to be like the low end of won't watch much. Every single Saw movie, I'm gonna go through this fast. I'm just gonna put almost all of them in this spot because I'm not a Saw fan. I mean, like, I think they're okay and they've got moments, but like the series as a whole is like not one that I generally want to watch. I every few years rewatch them, and I generally am like feel the same exact way. Like, it's just average acting with like interesting traps, and it's like, okay, yeah, that was fun, but like I'm not in a hurry to rewatch it, and I don't think it's like top tier horror. So that's kind of where I would put these. And my mouse is so sensitive. I'm trying not to overcompensate here. I'll just use the keyboard. But this one, there's not like obviously, like, I don't feel the same way about 1 through 6. So if you asked me, like, of these ones, which ones would I put higher if I had to, it would be 1, 2, and 3. Um, it would probably be closer to here, and then after that, it's 4, 5, and 6, and won't watch much, and then Jigsaw and whatever this Saw 3D. I don't remember what it was called. Um, yeah, for me, they're just bad movies. I don't like Jigsaw. It just doesn't feel much like a Saw movie, um, and I just don't really enjoy it. I'll try this one more time. Um, and then we got Spiral, which, it's not bad. I just don't think it's as good as it could have been. I mean, like, I wouldn't even say that. I just didn't have, like, because it's a Saw movie, I didn't have high expectations, and it like just met those low expectations. Um, so that's where I'm gonna go with that. This one's where I have to deal with that bar being in the way, where it says no internet connection. But Scream is definitely going right there in my favorites. That is one of my favorite slashers and has continued to grow up my list as I rewatch it more. Um, really like, well, that just not even for like a second. Uh, yeah, the original one is really the only one that I would put that high, but I do really like most of them a lot. So Scream 2 for me, I would put probably worth buying. I do watch it almost every time that I watch through the series. I enjoy 2 a fair amount. Maybe not as much as 1, but as much as 4, which I'll get to that. 3, um, here, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to move 2 up to here and move 3 to here because I don't feel like these are equal movies at all. Not that I feel like these 2 are, but it's just I've seen The Ring so many times uh, that that's the only reason why I put it lower than great. But so Scream 4, I'm not sure why this is doing this. Scream 4 is my second favorite one. If you saw my list that I made a few weeks ago, maybe, um, Scream 2 and 4 are pretty close to me. It kind of is like, the only reason I think I like 4 more is because the new characters are just slightly better than the new characters in that one. Other than I do really like, um, I forget his name. He's the one killer in that movie. But yeah, he's really good. I actually feel Mickey. I feel like Mickey doesn't get used enough because he's gone for like 40 minutes in the movie, but I still do like him. And then 5, I've got to be honest, I really don't enjoy 5 that much. It is just not one of those movies I'm gonna rewatch unless I'm watching 1 through 5 or something. Like on its own, I'm not gonna pick it ever. I watched it a few times now, and I just don't really like any of the characters besides the main three, and even them, they're like barely in it. Like Dewey is like the first half, and then like the other half is like a mix of Gail and Sydney, and like I just don't really care about Gail anymore. And I still always will like Sydney. She's probably my favorite, like slasher final girl. Um, but yeah, it's kind of just I feel like the series was fine at 4, so we'll see how 6 is. But Session 9 is my second favorite horror movie ever, so it's gonna go up here with these other ones. If I could see. Session 9, if you've never seen it, is a pretty underrated horror movie. Um, it's about an asbestos cleaning crew that goes into this abandoned asylum in. Um, it's called Danvers State Hospital. It used to be in somewhere near Boston, um, and I don't know why I can't connect to my Wi-Fi, but yeah, it was actually a real hospital, and they go in, and it's kind of like because of the two different ways that they were going to go with the movie. It's got this tone of like, is it a haunted building or isn't it? And I always take it as that it's not. It's just the environment is an insane asylum or was, and that it's just this everyday stress. It's like a very good setting while these 5 men are dealing with just everyday stress and how it kind of changes them, or um, what they do to kind of cope with that. And our main character is played really well. I'm not sure of his name off the top of my head, but he does a really good job. And how the movie like plays out, and how you see how he's handled it and how poorly he's handled it is really good. Next, we have another favorite of mine, The Shining. Um, let's see if I can get this here. I really don't know why, because like there's internet connection, but let's hope this is recording. But that's good enough for now. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, The Shining. It's one of the best horror movies ever. Jack Nicholson does a really good job. If you've never seen it and you're into horror movies, that's kind of surprising. But most people, if you're into horror movies, this is one of the first that you go to. And it's been a consistent choice of mine to pick any day of the year that I'm just like, yeah, I feel like watching it. Doesn't have to be, it seems like it's like a good Christmas horror movie because the snow, but I've watched it before in June, and so it's just a good movie. Next is Signs. I like it, but it's gonna go there. It's other than like a few moments, it's not quite a horror movie. It is, but it's just like very little horror. It's like a Shyamalan movie version of horror, so like it's good, but it's more trying to tell a story, and it's got horror elements in it. The only moment in the movie as a kid that always got me was whenever the alien is hiding in the bushes. You were watching like it's a kid's birthday party in like Mexico or something, and Joaquin Phoenix is watching it on the news, and um, you see like an alien walk out. He was like completely blended in with the bushes, and like I never noticed that as a kid. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, geez, he's standing right there like the whole time. I just thought that he just walked out from the bushes, but he's like literally standing in them, hiding. And then as soon as he walks out, like his camouflage was blended in with them, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But that was really the only part as a kid that ever like got me. As an adult, nothing does in it. I mean, there's no horror movie that I genuinely can find scary, but I think that's just because I've watched so much, and I'm as an adult like nothing really like that, because I guess I can take it as just a movie. Like if these things happen in real life, then yeah, but not you know not in a movie. So next is another one of my favorites, and that's Silence of the Lambs. Um, just recently rewatched this and showed it to two people who had never seen it, and it was pretty fun to see what they thought of it. They enjoyed it too. The performance of Buffalo Bill and or the actor who played Buffalo Bill, and then Hannibal Lecter. They're both really good characters, and then you have Sterling, played by Jodie Foster, and it's just a really good movie. Another one that you've probably seen it, even if I don't really consider this horror, but that's what it's kind of labeled in. So I'd consider it more like a crime thriller myself, but either way, that's what it's labeled under, and so I figured I'd add it. It is a really good movie though. So next is Silent Hill. Um, it's kind of tough. I think I'll put it up here because it is a little bit different, and I kind of like that. This is kind of like they did their own version based off of the characters in the game, or like the world of the game, I guess I should say. Um, I think that it's okay, and it was definitely worth buying. Um, I'm debating on whether I should put it won't watch much because I have watched it a fair amount. I feel like it's a little long at times. But if I'm looking at some of these other movies, like down in this won't watch much, like Salem's Lot is still my favorite of all of these. Um, I think I would pick these three over all those except for Salem's Lot, and I really kind of want to move that up. So I think just because of how much I did enjoy it, even though I won't watch it much, I am going to do that. My mouse is so sensitive. There we go. All right, so that's probably where I put these. And then next we have Silent Night, Deadly Night, which I think is fun, but it's not, I don't think, a great movie, which I think most people would agree with me on that it's like a fun movie, but it's not like it's a really well written movie. I'll probably add it to this won't watch much because I really only want to watch it around Christmas, which I've only seen it once, but it is a really fun, just like, I think it's like 90 minutes. It's a short, just slasher. And that's kind of all I wanted from a slasher is just something fun. Like, I don't even need for it to be like super realistic or anything. Like, obviously, most of them aren't, like the Friday the 13th and all, but like, I just want like fun gore and fun. Like, I don't really care, even like with the Michael Myers series, which is Michael Myers is probably my favorite of the characters, but like, as long as he's just getting some cool kills, that's really all I care about. Um, Trying to fit that in there. That's good enough. So next is The Sixth Sense. I would probably put that worth buying. You've probably seen this whether you're a horror fan or not. The ending, at least, you're probably quite aware of. And if you're not sure, definitely check this one out. Great ending, great story. Definitely Shyamalan's best movie. Like, at least I haven't seen all of them, but of the ones I've seen, it's like far and above the other ones. I'm not sure why that one's just not working, but whatever. Uh, so next is Suspiria, and I think I'm gonna put it here because I have watched it a few times, but I'm not a big like giallo horror movie guy. I've seen a few. Seen this in Opera, and I don't love it like most people. I do like this movie, um, obviously because I own it, and I think why I like it mainly is because of its like style and its color, and it's just like vibrant, backgrounds and setting, and then like I like that the blood is just like bright red. It like very much so fits this whole theme that they're going for. But as like a story, I feel like it doesn't get into the witch stuff as much, and I really want to check out the new one, but every time that I've tried to watch it on like a physical disc, because I can, there's a library that's like 2 minutes from my house that has movies, and I usually go there anytime I want to rent stuff because it's free. They their disc is just like scratched so bad that I can't watch it, so I'm just gonna wait for it to either go on like a subscription thing. Like I have Hulu, Netflix, and all that, so if it ever goes on there, I'll watch it. But until then, I'm probably just gonna hold off because I feel like it's still like the original more because of how long the new one is. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm gonna probably put right there with it because again, it's kind of one of those that's like the style of the movie and like the story of like everything, like what's behind the movie, like how they made it, and especially the dinner scene, how long it took to film it, and everything. I find that pretty interesting. Um, and like watching it makes you appreciate the movie, but I do think that it's a little bit like outdated with acting and things like that. It's good though, and I do enjoy it. But next is They Live. It's not quite a horror movie, but I kind of consider it one. I'm gonna put it here with those ones. Um, it's kind of just different and it's kind of fun, but it's there's like a small portion of the movie that I find rather good, and then like everything before and after is like just okay. It's pretty much whenever he puts on the glasses for the first time and he's just walking through the downtown with like a shotgun, like that part of the movie is like great, but like everything else is just okay. So that's kind of why if more of the movie was like that section I like, it probably would be right here. But then The Thing is definitely one of my favorites. Um, it's kind of like tied for my favorite John Carpenter movie with Halloween 2. If you haven't seen this and you're a horror fan, I'm very surprised. Also, it's just kind of one of those movies that's well known amongst the horror community for being very good. So, next is 13 Ghosts. I just rewatched this the other night. I like this one a fair amount. I'm going to probably put it right here. I've watched it 2 or 3 times. I think that was the second watch, but maybe I think it was the second like time I've seen clips from it was whenever the Dead Meat channel went and did the kill count for this. So I've seen most of it more than once, but full watch from start to finish twice. So um, yeah, I do like that one. I find it to be pretty fun, and it's not like the best movie ever, but I do like the kind of like theme of there's like 13 different ghosts and um, they're just in this house and like they're blocked behind this glass, and I like that they've got that little side plot with him losing his wife and that it was his uncle that started the house fire and turned her into this ghost. But and then you have the actor from Scream, Matthew Lillard. He does a good job in this, and it's I think a pretty fun early 2000s movie. Next is this is a fun one, Taurus Trap. I just rewatched this yesterday. Um, it's really silly, and its editing isn't the best, but I just really like it because it's just so different. Um, I think mannequins are just kind of like naturally weird and kind of creepy. Um, I don't find them really like scary in any way, but I just think that having them be able to move on their own because this guy's got a telekinetic powers and he's just doing things with them, and like he makes his wife into like her own statue or mannequin, and some of the scenes are like actually kind of creepy where like the one just turns around in the chair and jumps at um, the character. I forget what the actress's name is. Tanya Roberts is in this. That's who gets jumped at. And then you have Chuck Connors playing Mr. Slauson. But I think its biggest downfall is its weird editing. Like I have the extended, non uncut version, and it's some of the scenes feel like they were just like thrown in there and they don't really fit where, but I still like it. And the one scene that I think is a lot of fun because it's hilarious is where he's having like dinner with the other mannequin and he's it's like talking to him, but I think he's just making it talk somehow. It's just funny. Um, Next is Tower of Terror. This is the Disney one. I actually the reason I like this one probably more than most people was because I consider this kind of the first like horror movie I ever saw. Um, at least off of memory, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was either like this or The Sixth Sense. It's just which one came first. I'm not sure, but I was down in Disney or yeah World, whichever one was in Florida. I was in third grade, so I'm like I don't know whatever 7 8 years old, whatever that is, and I see the Tower of Terror like the ride, and I was fine with all rides. None of them did anything to me, but that ride as a kid was like it kind of freaked me out, and I loved the atmosphere of it. And I saw that there was the movie, and I was like, all right, I really want to watch this movie. And so I watched it like 3 times while I was down there. Um, Once at night when we got home, and then on a rainy day when all the parks were closed, and then on my way home from Florida, I watched it again because we drove. And yeah, so I went back down there again this March for the first time in years, and the atmosphere for that ride just brought back a lot of like memories for me. And I was just like, yeah, this was kind of cool, like reliving this after that's a long time. That's 8, 7, 8, 9 years old, 28. That's 20 years. So that was cool. So for me, just because of that, I don't think it's like the best movie, but I just kind of have a spot for it a little bit higher than some of these other ones. So Urban Legend, I like this one more than most people. Also, I think it's a pretty fun slasher. I don't think it's great either, but and I don't think the cast is they're not bad, but there's not too many characters I like, and the character that I do like the most actually ends up being the killer, and I I think it's one of the more underrated killers, who they are and why I like them. I don't want to get into it just because it's kind of a spoiler if you've never seen it, but yeah, it's one of those early 2000s cheesy. It's like I Know What You Did Last Summer and this next one, Valentine, which I like Valentine a little bit more, but again, like none of the characters are all that likable. Um, this one, it's all about like romance, because of Valentine's Day, and that's when it's set. And all the guys are like total douchebags, and all they want is like sex, and all the girls like say all the guys aren't good enough for them, and they're like too good for them, and they don't no guy ever deserves them, and it's just like they're so full of themselves and snotty, and like I don't know why they went that route and made not a single character likable almost at all. The main one is probably the most likable, but Denise Richards is in this. It's satisfying, kind of watching what happens to her character. Um, there's one character that gets killed by like a bow because it's supposed to be like Cupid is the killer, which I think is cool. But and then who it actually turns out to be is a rather cool ending. Um, and this next one, Vampire's Kiss. It's tough where I put this because it's a horror comedy and it's not really a great movie, but I feel like just because I find it so hilarious, I gotta put it under here. Um, if you've ever seen Vampire's Kiss, it's with Nicolas Cage. It's like that movie of his that has all those memes. It's just so funny. Um, he starts going on these like one night stands and he brings a girl home and he convinces himself she's a vampire and she bit him on the neck when all that really happened was he cut himself shaving. And so he starts to convince himself more and more that he's a vampire. He's wearing sunglasses out in public and like inside, and he's like wearing like cloaks and or not cloaks, but like hoods and or things over like to block the sun more. And then he's by the end of the movie, he's so crazy. He tries to buy like vampire teeth or just like really sharp teeth. He has like $3 or $4, and the guy's like, "Well, the best we have are these plastic ones, and those ones you can get from like like one of those like Chuck E. Cheese or something." He puts them in, and just like the music that it makes, it's just hilarious. It's so stupid, but it's hilarious, and I have to say I do love it for that. Next is M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. I'd say this is my second favorite movie of his, and I think one, the trailers were misleading, but two, I think the timing of the twist was a little off. Like I feel like they should have gone through the events that happen and pass over the twist and then come back to it. So like if you haven't seen it, I will briefly talk about what happens. So Lucius is played by the Lucius Hunt is played by Joaquin Phoenix, and then I don't remember what Adrian Brody's character's name is, but he stabs Lucius, and he's then put in like a room by himself, and he's um, like locked in there because of what he did. And but his character's like slow, so they don't want to like punish him too much. Well, because he's dying, uh, Bryce Dallas Howard's character, who's blind, goes into town, and they're in a community that's like, you know, so isolated from the rest of the world that everyone who lives there has no idea that there's like modern civilization past these woods. So they tell everyone that they live in like an older time, and there's nothing in those woods except for monsters. And as long as we don't disturb them, they won't kill us. Well, all it is really is that they had different family members that were murdered due to money or whatever, and so they all kind of accumulated in this town where there were, peace was the main thing, and there was just a small community of people that cared about each other. Well, at this end point where she's in the woods, you've already learned that the creature is not real and it's just a costume. So you're like, okay, well, who's in the costume? And then you quickly kind of gather that, oh, it's Adrian Brody's character, and then you find that out. Well, I think it would have been cool as if they went through all this. She goes to the woods, she tricks it into falling through the hole, and then we cut back to where she's having a conversation with her dad, and she walks into the like little hut where the thing is at, the costume. She freaks out like she does, and then we see that Adrian Brody's character has escaped, and then it cuts to him in that hole. I think that would have been like way more effective than telling us that it was fake. So we think that we're like, okay, well, she's just getting chased by a person in the suit. So I just think the timing of which they told us wasn't great. But next is a newer horror movie that came out within the past like 6 or 7 years, The Void. I find it to be pretty good. I'm gonna put it under worth buying. It's a very like inspired by The Thing, like cosmic horror is the word. I think it's pretty good. Its story is a little bit hard, maybe not hard to follow, but it's a little bit weird. Um, but it's pretty good, and I think that it's like practical effects are some of the best, especially since The Thing. That it does a really good job. And if you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch because I think a hospital is a really good horror movie setting, and this is a really good movie with a hospital setting. Um, Next is What We Do in the Shadows, which is another horror comedy. I'm kind of torn between two spots here, worth buying and won't watch much, because it is pretty funny, but it's like funny for a while and then it kind of starts to lose me because I just think it goes on for too long. So I think I'll put it won't watch much, but I do think it's one of the higher movies in this tier. Um, the scene where he's talking about virgin blood and sandwiches, I literally like I was not expecting that, and I died laughing the first time. I just was like, "Wow, that is some of the funniest things I've ever heard." So yeah, White Noise. There, this is on one of the lower ends of this. I don't think this is a great movie, but it's all right. Michael Keaton does a good job. His wife dies in a car accident, and he tries to communicate with her through white noise, and he's kind of being stalked by these like demons or whatever they are that don't want people to communicate with the dead, and it's just okay. It's nothing special. Wolfman, I'm gonna put here because it was my least favorite of all those classic horror movie monster, like of the original ones. Um, so if it's my least favorite, and I've got the other ones there, that's where I'm gonna put that one. And then Your Next, I enjoy quite a lot. I'm gonna put it up here with my favorites. Um, it's definitely in my top 10, and it's a lot of fun. And I love watching Erin, who's the main character. She's kind of tied with Sydney as like my favorite final girl. If we're talking like the things that she does, it's Erin. But if we're talking the actress and the actress's portrayal, not that Erin, whoever plays Erin, is bad. I just think because Sydney has much more depth to the character, is why I kind of like her. Um, I guess a little bit more, but Erin's like brutality is what makes her really good. Just the like willingness to make sure she kills someone. The scene where she kills the guy in the tiger mask, she first like kicks him in the balls, and then he like goes down on one knee. She gets up, hits him with like a mallet back of the head, and just keeps wailing on him. He's got like a fist-sized hole in the back of his head. She lifts his head up, takes the mask off, and she's like, "Does anyone know this guy?" And they're like, "Nope." And she just like tosses his head back down, and then she kills a guy by sticking a blender on his head and turning it on. She stabs him through the top of the head. Um, yeah, she just has a bunch of great kills in this movie. So, yeah, this is my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. I think a lot of my favorite movies have been in the for some reason M through like uh, Y or because I have no Z's horror movies, which I can't even name one right off the top of my head. If you want to count like Zombieland or something, but I've never actually seen that. Um, yeah, so which ones are your favorites? Which ones are your least favorites? I going back, I kind of like thinking some of the ones from my last video. I feel like I should have moved Halloween up into here for sure. Um, while I won't admittedly watch it much as the other ones because I it is my personal fourth favorite. It is much better than a lot of the movies that I put right here because honestly, like these Saw movies are like very bottom probably for me. Like I would if there was another category between won't watch much and why do I own this, all the Saw movies would probably be there. They're just not my thing. I own it more just because I like variety of horror, and that was kind of why. So anyway, thanks for watching again, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.